Thank you, Derek, and thank you, Sylvia. I think to come down from Cape Town, from Johannesburg to Cape Town and land after 12 o'clock and be fresh and bright in the morning to open a conference, we really appreciate it. You know, when Derek came into my office yesterday afternoon and said that the city of Cape Town has a slight urgency on their hands and cannot join us, he suggested to me that it would be truly wonderful if I can set the scene. And I reminded him that the last time that I set something was the dinner table under the watchful eye of my wife. And he said, you know what, just think differently. And I guess the frustration that we have is that we have a problem. We know we have a problem. We are all asking questions, and we have to get to a solution. And it's not, you know, it's a non-negotiable. We cannot have day zero. We have to get a solution. And this is what this day is about. It's about us as a community talking and getting together and sharing ideas. So you would be quite right to ask, where has all the water gone? And if you, like me, watch the website of City of Cape Town, you would have seen on Monday evening that statistic. 37.4% full. It's down by 0.5% from last week. And we are still using 600 million liters per day instead of a target of 500. We're not able to achieve that. Now, to put that into perspective, South Africa as a country receives 50 billion cubic meters of rainwater a year. Where is it? 70% of that actually returns to the natural environment. By means of evaporation, we have to return it to the oceans to maintain our rivers, and some of it goes underground into the subsurface from where it's very difficult to recover. So that leaves us with only about 15 billion cubic meters of rainwater, of surface water that we can readily access. Add to that about 2 billion or so of groundwater resources. That leaves us with a total available surface water of 17 billion cubic meters per year as a country. Today, we've used 16.6 billion of that. We are growing at 1% per year, which means that by 2 years from now, we will be water negative. So, you know, the reality that the government is talking about is that this is a new normal. It's true, you know, it is a new normal. This drought is just a little blip. Now, within 5 or 7 years from now, we will be water negative to the tune of 1 billion cubic meters per year. So it's not small talk. How did we get here? And I know that there are a lot of noise in the market. There's a lot of noise in industry. There's a lot of frustrations. But we can't change the future. We can't change the history. We can't change the past. What we can change is how we think about it. And my interpretation of what has happened, like Sylvia said, in 2002, we already knew about an edge for Johannesburg around 2020. And we knew for the whole country there's an edge. But there are so many competing interests and only limited funds and time and people. So we were walking towards that edge a little bit blindfolded. We were blindfolded by all these side issues. And I think what this drought has done, it just brought us closer to the edge quicker and caught us with our pants down. On top of that, you need to remember that 2015 was the driest year on record in South Africa. 2016 was drier, and 2017 was drier. So I think the takeaway message from that is that the cheap water is gone. At the recent desalination conference in Cape Town, today's speaker that couldn't make it committed the city to say that we have to diversify away from surface waters. It's good to have dams, but they only work if it rains. We've used our available surface water. We need to start looking at alternative sources, and time is of the essence. For a country, 63% of our available water goes to agriculture. And Johan will talk about that important industry for the Western Cape a little bit later, so I'm not going to spend time on it. 26% of the country's water goes into municipal applications and 11% to industry. In the municipal sector, about 35% is used for gardens, 28% for toilets, 20% for hygiene, and about 15 or 14% for laundry. So there's some clear opportunities for optimization, for reuse, for grey systems. So if you're a property owner or a developer, these are the sort of things that I think one should be looking at. And I'm reminded about our office in the UAE, their experience. Some of the high-rise buildings there, the property developers has unlimited access to water. They can get all the water they want at a fixed price. No increasing scale with increased consumption. It's amazing. Unlimited water in the middle of the desert. But you don't have a sewer connection. So what do? They reclaim the water for cooling water, they reclaim the water for toilet flush water, they reclaim the water for gardening, etc. Even laundries are treating the water. It's proven technology, and Derek will come back to that a little bit later. Now, you guys in industry say smugly, actually we only use 11% of the water. I have some news for you. By 2030, the World Wildlife Fund estimates that South African manufacturing sector's water's consumption will be more than the total industrial water's consumption in 2016. Where will that water come from? Government has to give the water first to people to drink, and second to people to make food. So if you get water, that water will be expensive. So even though the manufacturing sector or the industrial sector is not the primary user of South Africa, it will impact on us as industrial community as well. What can we do? Very quickly, that's the doom and gloom part of my introduction. There are plans afoot. It's not all doom and gloom. We know that the city of Cape Town is working extremely hard, and I have been speaking to some of the engineering and consulting companies in the last week or month about it. The city and these companies, as well as our industry, is really working 16 hours a day. And I have one of our colleagues here from Oregon. If there are some more detailed questions, maybe we can ask Brendan Tennyson to respond to those. But in essence, the city, as we know, has a demand-side management program which is in place. And then they have the borehole strategy, which is currently starting to gain traction, where this plan is to extract more water from groundwater and make that available. There is a whole series of seawater desalination tenders for emergency mobile type applications, which over the weekend received a lot of news and noise around that. I think it's a complex issue, and I'm not going to go into the issues around that. Our focus today is not the issues, it's to move forward. And then thirdly, they also have plans to recover treated sewage for industrial use and even potable. So there's a whole series of activities already in place by the city that's well publicized. We as industry, as community, as property and society should look at alternative. What alternative sources do we have? Groundwater, more of it. Effluent recycling, recovery of valuable water from effluent, optimization of your water use on site. And our team is here if you have questions. We can look at seawater. We can look at sewage. etc. So there's actually a lot of water available. We should just think how to do that quickly. And then the question is, how can we fast track? With all of these issues, we have many plans, but we always run into the barrier of regulatory inertia. So we have DWS here today to assist us, to guide us as to what the processes are, what they are doing to unlock that regulatory inertia, and to guide us as to what we should be doing to enable them to unlock it as well, so that we can get there. So the day ahead, just very quickly and as conclusion, we have Johan from BFAP that will look quickly at agricultural. We have Green Cape that will review the industry as a whole for us. AN InBev will be here to give us an example of what they've done. It's a success story, and thank you very much for AN InBev to be here today. There are many other similar examples. DWS, as I said, and then there are standard solutions that we can look at for quick gains, and then bespoke solutions for the standard for the longer term. Ladies and gentlemen, Derek, I think the table is set. Thank you very much and enjoy the day. Thank you.